All right, welcome back to another After Dark, everyone. Hope you all are having a good night so far. Hope you guys had a wonderful day. I saw this pop up on my feed. It's a new Woo Hoops video, and you guys know how I am with this channel. I totally rock with this channel. So the last one was about Starbucks and the Seattle Supersonics. Very interesting story, and I'm just as intrigued with this one. This one is similar in the title, which is how FedEx cost Vancouver their NBA team. Now I assume it's going to be something similar, but I really don't know the story of why the Vancouver Grizzlies was a thing and then all of a sudden it wasn't a thing. You know, because I was around back in the day when the expansion happened, and we had Toronto, and we had the Grizzlies, but I don't remember exactly what took Vancouver away or how this all went down. So obviously it has something to do with FedEx, so we'll see in a bit. Guys, let's get right to it. I'm going to link the original video from Woo Hoops down below in the description, like I always do. Highly recommend this channel, you guys. The link is right there. Also, you see a list of channel members, shout out channel members. I appreciate you all. Guys, like the video. It helps out a lot. I'd appreciate it. Here we go. Story time.
Date is October 31st, 2001. And the Vancouver Grizzlies owner, Michael Heisley, is about to take the stage to sing the national anthem.
Okay.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land.
While a bit unusual,
Okay.
this was a gesture in good faith, reinforcing his commitment to keeping the team in Vancouver, a commitment that he's held since the day he bought the team.
All right.
I intend to do everything in my power to make this franchise a success in Vancouver.
Which makes it all the more shocking that in just a few months, he will be moving the team to Memphis, Tennessee. To understand how we got here, we must go all the way back to 1954. In 1954, a Memphis artist would conceive of a vision to build a monumental structure in the city, a pyramid overlooking the Mississippi River. After all, the city of Memphis was named after the ancient Egyptian capital, so why not give it a landmark to match? Just as the pyramids of Giza stood over the Nile, this new American pyramid would rise above the Mississippi. Though he was never able to materialize his vision, Memphis would have another dreamer who would have better luck. Across town, a 10-year-old boy named Frederick Smith will be growing up.
Well, my childhood was autonomous. My father had passed away when I was 4. Not having a father influence, I guess I sort of learned a lot of things on my own.
For university, he would attend Yale. In 1965, he would be tasked with writing a term paper for his economics class. On this paper, he would write the genesis of what would soon revolutionize the shipping industry.
I was a student at Yale and
Interesting.
wrote a paper about the computerized society that was on the horizon.
Smith concluded the companies couldn't afford to keep a full inventory of costly spare parts on hand. So he envisioned a new system to move parts quickly overnight and door to door.
And then I sort of let that lie. I didn't get a particularly good grade on it, as I recall.
In 1973, this same boy
And that's just proof out there, man. If you believe in something enough, don't let anybody stop you until you achieve your vision. They just don't understand yet. That means you're usually probably a couple of steps ahead of them.
return home to Memphis and start a company. He would name it Federal Express.
Props, man.
Hello, Federal Express, when it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight.
Throughout the 70s and 80s, Federal Express would grow exponentially into a billion-dollar company. By 1994, Federal Express would rebrand themselves into what we know today as FedEx. Also in 1994, the NBA officially announced its expansion into Canada, awarding franchises to Toronto and Vancouver. Toronto was seen as the more viable market, with greater corporate backing and a larger population, while Vancouver's bid was led by the same ownership group as the city's NHL team, the Canucks, and they were opening a new arena that same season and thought of this as a why not investment. The Vancouver franchise initially wanted the name of the Mounties, named after the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. However, they would object. they eventually settled on the Grizzlies, a name previously rejected.
Oh, that reminds me of like Smokey and the Bandit. They called the police county mounties in that movie a whole bunch.
By Toronto, but in a way more fitting for British Columbia. The Grizzlies would start their tenure going 2-0, the best record out the gate for an expansion team.
Byron Scott, 2 seconds.
Yeah, so B. Scott went over there as part of the expansion.
Are 2-0 to start the regular season.
Hey, you got a
They
champion
would then
on
lose
there.
their following 19, ultimately finishing the season 15-67. The Grizzlies await for the day their fortunes turn around. By 1995, Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx, has become a Memphis icon. Though he built a company dedicated to shipping, Fred Smith himself remained firmly rooted, committing his life and legacy to the city of Memphis.
But here's what I respect him for and admire him greatly. He never entertained relocating FedEx from Memphis.
But for FedEx to keep expanding in the city, Memphis had to grow with it. And what better way to advertise a city than to chase after a professional sports franchise, specifically an NFL team. This wasn't just Smith's dream. For decades, Memphis had been chasing the NFL, only to be repeatedly used as leverage in the league's negotiations with other cities. That was until 1974, when Memphis would finally land their own professional football team from the newly established World Football League.
The World Football League. This year, the league is gambling millions more by buying some of the biggest names in pro football.
The franchise was originally set to be based in Toronto, but Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau passed the Canadian Football Act, which effectively banned foreign football leagues from operating in Canada. Thus, the team would relocate to Memphis. Though the WFL only lasted one season before folding, the Memphis team was...
That makes me feel a lot better because I didn't know about the World Football League, you guys. So I thought I was living under a rock for a second.
Actually a success and financially viable.
Enjoy the game? Yes, sir.
You want to come back?
Yes, sir.
How about you, sir?
Enjoyed it immensely. We'll be back.
Oh, and the name of this beloved team? The Memphis Grizzlies. Fast forward to 1995, and the NFL was expanding again. Fred Smith would team up with the estate of Elvis Presley to submit a bid for a new franchise. But in the end, the NFL chose Charlotte and Jacksonville instead. This was the final nail in Memphis's NFL coffin. 2 years later, the NFL would toss Memphis a bone. As the Houston Oilers were planning to relocate to Nashville, they had to wait for Nashville to complete their stadium. Thus, the team planned to play its home games in Memphis. Local fans did not like this idea and stayed away from the games.
The headline on the opening day said, "Our dream, their team." Huge letters. And that's how it felt like.
The attendance was so abysmal that the Oilers would move a year early and play at Vanderbilt University in Nashville instead. While Memphis was hurting over a team they don't have, Vancouver was hurting over a team they do have. By 1999, Toronto was already developing into its own identity with the duo Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady.
Yes, sir.
Vancouver, meanwhile, has made zero progress, still the worst team in the league. In fact, they were the worst team in the league 3 of their last 4 seasons.
Yet somehow every time Prime Shaq played these guys, he had a terrible game with Big Country on him.
The fan base has
Reeves.
also gotten increasingly frustrated with GM Stu Jackson, who have missed on draft picks year after year. Just a year prior, with the second overall pick, the Vancouver Grizzlies would select 6'2" guard Mike Bibby, who was thrilled to be picked.
I just told him, I said, I don't want to play here. And they were like, we're going to pick you anyway.
A year later, in the 1999 NBA draft, with the second overall pick again, this time, Vancouver would select a 6'3" guard.
With the second pick in the 1999 NBA draft, the Vancouver Grizzlies select Steve Francis from the University of Maryland.
Little did they know that this move will alter their franchise history. But before we get to that, a quick word from today's sponsor.
I knew it.
You see,
saw it coming
all of this
time.
can be boiled down to Vancouver losing its identity. However, you could protect your identity. Did you know your personal data is being sold online right now?
Yep,
Data brokers
sure
collect
is.
and sell details like your name, home address, phone numbers, political views, or job history, all without your permission.
Man, I even heard ChatGPT already had a major leak.
When that information is out there, it can increase your exposure to things like phishing scams, identity theft, or even stalking. That's why I personally use and recommend DeleteMe, the sponsor of today's video. DeleteMe works by removing your personal information from hundreds of data broker websites, the same sites that profit off selling your data. They also keep monitoring and continue removing it over time so it doesn't just grow back like weeds. And if you're worried about your loved ones, consider getting a family plan. If your data is out there, there's a good chance theirs might be as well. Get 20% off DeleteMe consumer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/woohoops and use promo code woohoops at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/woohoops, code woohoops. Thank you, DeleteMe. In all
right,
honesty,
there you have it, guys.
this was a great pick. Steve Francis will ultimately become the only Vancouver draft pick to ever become a multi-time All-Star. It also didn't hurt that Francis was a high flyer, potentially Vancouver's own Vince Carter.
Yeah, he was so fun.
Stevie Francis.
So fun to watch.
There was just one problem. Despite being great at hiding his emotions, Steve Francis did not want to play in Vancouver.
Now, before yesterday,
Did he go straight to Houston? Or was there somewhere in between?
NBA draft, Steve Francis's agent said he would have a problem playing in Vancouver. Obviously, one of the problems is Steve Francis doesn't know where Vancouver is.
And instead of calling his bluff, GM Stu Jackson would abide by Francis's wishes, trading him to the Houston Rockets.
Oh, damn. So straight there.
Vancouver would never get their Vince Carter.
Is that allowed? If somebody, like, if you grant them citizenship and everything, are you allowed to just say, I don't want to play for the team that drafted me? I don't understand this.
In September of '99, the Grizzlies would be sold to billionaire Bill Laurie for $200 million. Laurie's intentions? To move the team to St. Louis. When David Stern caught wind of the plan, he would block the relocation, effectively killing the sale.
When you place a franchise someplace, you ask and are asking the fans to make a certain commitment to the team, and it's not inappropriate for the fans in the cities that you ask to make those commitments to expect the leagues to have some commitment to them.
With the team's future now,
look at the Arizona Cardinals over here. We've never actually had success. We've been going since before I was alive, and we made the Super Bowl once and we lost it. We've really had about 4 to 5 good seasons, and that's it. You know what I mean? So imagine if they would have just gotten rid of the Cardinals after the first 4 or 5 years because we weren't successful. Hell, we had them playing in an arena football stadium for a long time with the Arizona Rattlers. Okay? That's how we treated the Cardinals. We treated them like crap in here when I was a kid, you know? But it doesn't mean relocate them. I don't understand that mentality, because when you're coming in as an expansion team, more than likely, it's going to take a while to get your feet, to get your feet wet. Unless your name is the Orlando Magic, then you draft a guy named Shaq and you're good to go.
Limbo. In January of 2000, Chicago billionaire Michael Heisley was swooped in to purchase the Grizzlies for $160 million. The difference this time? Heisley wanted the team to stay in Vancouver.
What I can talk about this morning is my commitment to the Vancouver Grizzlies, our fans, and the city of Vancouver. I intend to do everything in my power to make this franchise a success in Vancouver.
Heisley would say all the right things and even build the team a new practice arena. On opening night, he would win over the fan base by, of course, as we know, singing the national anthem.
Well, this makes a lot more sense now.
Oh, Canada.
Copyright strike from Canada government.
Finally, Vancouver seemed to be in the hands of an owner who truly cared. For a couple months. You see, behind the scenes, Heisley claims to have lost over $40 million. How is this possible? Well, one, though Michael Heisley bought 100% of the Vancouver Grizzlies, that's all he got. The Canucks ownership group held on to complete control of the arena.
He didn't have control of the arena. The Canucks got all the money from that arena.
2. The Canadian dollar during the turn of the millennium was at an all-time low. As team expenses and player salaries were paid in USD, Revenues being generated were in Canadian dollars, putting the franchise at a huge financial disadvantage.
Oh, because yep. So the Canadian dollar was down, the American dollar was probably okay, and that conversion was probably killing them at that time. I didn't think about that. That's crazy. They're earning their revenue in a different currency. That's a problem, actually, because they're earning the revenue in a different currency than what they're paying their players. That can, that's, I never thought about it.
And all of this could have been fine if the team was good. The Grizzlies were not.
Yeah, if they're making enough money to compensate for it,
They were actually historically bad. They were actually the worst team of all time, going 101 and 359 in their tenure in Vancouver.
I don't really watch the Grizzlies that much, so.
Why not?
Well, they kind of suck as a team,
the NBA players, I think they had real spoiled attitudes.
I'm a hockey fan. If they want to go, they can go, for all I care.
This triple whammy would lead Michael Heisley to the inevitable conclusion. It was time to relocate the franchise.
And when I get to the point where it's obvious to me and any other rational person it isn't going to be a success, then I'm going to move.
Yeah, fair enough.
On February 12th, 2001, David Stern would give him the go-ahead to begin the relocation process. Ultimately, 4 cities would emerge as frontrunners: Anaheim, Louisville, New Orleans, and Memphis. Out of the 4, Memphis, being the smallest market, seemed to be the longest of shots. In fact, CBC would claim nothing short of Elvis phoning Heisley to voice his support for the Memphis bid will convince the owner to move to the city.
Interesting.
But in a stroke of miracle, the final choice would come down to 2 cities, Louisville and Memphis. Louisville offered a 20-year sponsorship package worth $100 million and have them play in a new $200 million arena named the KFC Bucket.
The KFC
Memphis'
Bucket.
efforts would be spearheaded by Pitt Height, the founder of AutoZone. Him and a group of local businessmen would form a group now known as NBA Now and offered a new $250 million arena that's publicly funded. However, there was one thing Memphis wasn't offering yet that could potentially seal the deal.
David Stern wanted the league to be engaged with FedEx.
We know the NBA was, like all sports leagues, extremely desirous of a large FedEx relationship, no matter where it was.
And from Fred Smith's perspective, this was Memphis' opportunity to finally enter the national stage. What he missed out on with the NFL just 5 years prior. This time he gets a redo. NBA.
All of the key FedEx folks, Fred Smith, would say that they were smiling upon it.
Just as he's done many times before, Fred Smith would deliver. FedEx would offer $90 million for the naming rights to the new arena.
They've stepped up very clearly and said, listen, we'll buy a naming rights deal for the new arena, and that money will go directly into your pocket, Mike Heisley.
As decision time neared, ESPN will frame this as Kentucky Fried Chicken versus FedEx. Ultimately, Memphis will be chosen.
It wouldn't have happened without FedEx.
There are a lot of people who were engaged in bringing the Grizzlies to town, but without Fred Smith and FedEx, it simply would not have happened.
A great American story, right? Not so fast.
Okay.
Fred Smith's offer for the team was only for the naming rights. That does not go into helping cover for the new arena.
And he made it very clear to me. He said, Mr. Mayor, if you want my team, you've got to build me a $250 million state-of-the-art arena.
And while we're on the topic of new arenas, remember the pyramid idea from earlier? Well, in 1991, Memphis would actually build it, with the majority of construction publicly funded.
Now, 5,000 years later, the torch has been rekindled.
Wait a second.
Feel the power of the great American pyramid.
Isn't that place? I've seen this in another video. This does not have to do with sports anymore. It's it's a hunting. Woo's gonna tell us. It's shoot. It's driving me crazy.
The purpose of this pyramid? To be the city's premier basketball
It's like a
arena.
hunting goods place.
Now, just a decade later, Memphians will now foot the bill for another arena at 3 times the cost, all for the worst team in the league.
Heisley wanted taxpayers to not only pay for the building, but the Grizzlies would get complete control of the arena, including concert and all concession revenues.
Memphians were furious, and Mayor Willie Harrington knew that if this ever came down to a referendum, it would not pass.
Literally, people said, we don't want them to come because we think they'll leave.
He would decide to bypass the public vote and approve the funding himself. But before the sale was official, Michael Heisley would throw in one final twist.
So I get a call that says, Mayor, you got to come down here. The deal is about to fall apart. I said, well, what do you mean?
Heisley attorney Stan Meadows throws a last-minute curveball, demanding Memphis cover any of the team's operating losses. In Vancouver, the Grizzlies were losing $30 to $40 million a year.
And I remember saying to Stan, we want this team. My city deserves this team, but we're never going to agree to cover the losses. And before we cover the losses, you can take this team, and I told him where to shove it.
Yeah.
They knocked on the door, and he said, Mr. Mayor, we have a deal. We understand.
At that point, that's wild to say, like, hey, government, if my business fails, I want you to pay the losses. It doesn't work that way, at least not in my book.
Well, the team's been in the league 6 years, and in that time, the Vancouver Grizzlies won 98 games. They lost another 352.
Oh, no.
So an announcement today that it's applied to move to an American city comes as no surprise.
On March 26, 2001, Michael Heisley would announce that he had selected Memphis as the new home of the Grizzlies.
Chuck Daly was there,
25 years after the WFL Grizzlies came.
Am I tripping?
That he had selected Memphis.
Announcement today that it's applied to move to an American city comes as no surprise.
On March 26,
yeah, that's Coach Daly right there.
Michael Heisley would announce that he had selected Memphis as the new home of the Grizzlies. 25 years after the WFL Grizzlies came to Memphis, they would get a second chance. And this time, the team was here to stay. They would request for a name change to the Memphis Express alongside a FedEx banner stripe on the jersey. The NBA would reject the proposal. Corporate sponsors on jersey has no place in the league. For Vancouver, they would play their final home game ever on April 14th, 2001. They will lose the game to the Rockets 95-100. The player of the game, Rookie of the Year, Steve Francis. In 2004, the Memphis Grizzlies will make it to their first ever playoffs. Pre-game, owner Michael Heisley would take the mic.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch
another. Woo, I think I've seen them all, man. I think I've seen all your videos so far. That was a cool story. I had no context on any of this. I did not have my finger on any of this information. So that's really cool. That's all really cool. And it's working. It's working out so far. So I guess so far so good. Because whatever was going on in Vancouver is just not working out. And it is funny to see a bunch of hockey fans out there, hating on basketball. Because I do understand it is a hockey town. It's a hockey country, to be completely real. What else to say about it? I mean, I commented a lot less on this video than usual because it was like, this is all brand new info for me. So I really wanted to speak less and listen more, if that makes sense. But I definitely did learn a lot. And cool to see, the only thing that was kind of irking me was that whole, like, I'm going to ask you to cover my losses thing. Like, all business is risk and reward, So in a risk and reward system, you got to take the risk in order to enjoy the reward. If not, like, what does that mean? If you're making profit, does that mean you just give all that money to the government? Like, no. So they shouldn't have to have your back if you're not profitable. You know, it's your business, your company. I don't know. That kind of stuff never sits well to me, you know, but we can go down a whole rabbit hole with stuff like that, and I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to head out, you guys. Go check out Woo's channel. There's probably some videos on there you haven't seen yet, and I highly recommend it. It's a great channel. Guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. I'll see you all in the comments. I know right now it's probably flooded with a bunch of comments on what that pyramid is now, what it's called now. Real quick before I go, I'll just say I know it's a sporting goods place, and I apologize. I don't mess around with my phone when I'm recording here. So yeah, I could technically look it up, but it's a sporting goods place, but they made it into like a place where it's a hotel as well, so you can stay there and experience life in this crazy pyramid that's also a sporting goods place. Guys, look it up. I'm telling you, it's pretty wild. I would have never guessed there's something like that exists. So whatever the original vision of that pyramid is not the current vision of that pyramid. Guys, I'm gonna head out. Be water, my friends.